follow me on social networks. If you want the audio-only version or want a personalized video, find the links below.
Hey, today I will be reading some poetry. Not because I'm that much of a fan of poems. I don't read and I don't write them, but I just felt like it would make a good video, so I hope you enjoy that. Just before I start, I've chosen to go with mostly a random amateur poet from a website called allpoetry.com. She goes by the name Lacrimosa, and I will link to her page in the description, and I hope she's okay with me reading some of her poems. I have picked 4 poems at random, and I will be reading them in no particular order, so yeah, I have no opinion on them at all. I'm just going to read them, and I hope you find it relaxing. The first poem that I'm going to read is called Microphones, and it goes like this. Devastating, she says, declaring oxymorons as beautiful as the fire between 2 winters, because she gives birth to them in the presence of a decaying tree, or thrives on their warmth when the garden has turned grey, and the moon has ceased to be metaphorical in its shine. She names each of its craters one by one. When the politicians, the scientists, the romanticists have no words left to say, she scoops them from the shimmering brooks, from the crooks of her sister's elbow, from the silence that follows after the death of a child, and threads the pieces of them into a sonata of memories. Don't be absurd, she says to the shoe. He has the tongue to speak and the cheek of an old mother, but he does not have the eyes to appreciate all the things left to be described, about the mist on Mount Everest, or the carvings on the Borobudur. He simply roams in a room full of mics left on mute. She ignites the noise from them with a single slam piece. And in every crowd on a Friday evening, she curates a ballad out of the acidic breaths of strangers, snaps a senryu of the blind man and his violin, molds a ghazal from the subtly bloodied shoes left outside the temple, fashions every fleeting hint of hurt into a single lullaby, while she misses her appointment to see the psychiatrist. The therapy there is in poetry, somewhat resembles that velvet feel of a satisfying dream in the minutes after awakening. And in the black and white of things, there is always another voice. You might not know it, but this will be the 6th or 7th time that I'm trying to read this damn poem, but I keep messing up. Anyway, the second poem I'll be reading to you is called Treacle Pudding, and it goes like this. Dear doorknob, air conditioner, water fountain, you all have such strange faces now. Everyone touches you like you are normal, like you are their own. I set my soap dish down and realize that if I slip in the bathroom, no one will ever know. If I choke on a crumb in the dining room, no one will ever know. If I talk about Shakespeare in my sleep, no one will ever know. And if I resolve to declare war on all things shaped like a shut door, no one will. I was supposed to miss you. I grew up dressing Barbies and sent my first email with fancy characters at 9, and then I had braces, which was awkward, metallic, but never cold, not then. I embodied you. I grew up learning that my mother's boho skirts were so yesterday, because yesterday was never cool enough. I grew up believing that starving kids in Africa was a legit excuse for everything, because their bones were empty, as if my malnourished luxury was any better. Dear Barbies, overseas emails, braces, you were real, but you forced that reality on me, because anything ugly was taboo. In secondary school, we learned about feather headdresses and tapioca farmers. They called it poverty. The teachers cracked globes like rotten eggs and said, "Aren't you glad we're not them?" They wore stilettos and denim and thought denim was made in America. Except you were never made. Conceptualized, developed from something barren. You just existed, or something like that. Dear clocks, cereal boxes, street signs, I've been trying to learn to read you again. You have become redundant. While I was trying to reverse the trend of illiteracy in the third world, I realized time didn't matter in heaven. I realized food was from gardens, not factories. I realized directions were best given by wandering strangers who offered also a pineapple for the journey. And I realized destinations were the stranger himself, his story, that is. I messed up that last part. Anyway, it goes on. I hoped that you would teach me how to keep my feet from bleeding, but you showed me how to suffocate instead. On holidays, the guys would take out a deck of cards, they shuffle it and throw one out, and if it's the jack, queen, king, or ace, we're privileged, but if it's a number, we're a number. One of many numbers. But we are jack, queen, king, and ace, and we lock ourselves up in palaces until our breaths are as stale as the strong exchange rate. You give me endless entertainment on the evening ride home, but when I stop to compliment another passenger on her gorgeous hairstyle, she refuses to make eye contact. Clearly, she is the new embodiment of you. It is most unbecoming of dinner time to think it is an excuse for a better Windows upgrade. It is most unbecoming of bedtime stories to be solitary. I dread to imagine what would happen if we switched the world's inhabitants around. Dear dystopia, what have you done with empathy? Fearfully yours, the one that left everything behind. I messed up that poem way more than I would like to admit, but hey. Next, we have Hide and Seek, and it goes like this. By consequence, you would die expectantly, maybe with fleeting uncertainty in the last moments, but you would still melt away with the image of the hillside, the rusted wheelbarrow, candles burning by the ancient tree, expectantly. You melt away every day, having never wondered why you were alive to begin with. Your name is no foreigner to every history class, every geography class, every econs class, every damn math class. But no one has ever spoken to you. No one has seen the way you weep on the barley fields where you believe the ancestors were once buried. You are a giant on our billboards, but you are a dwarf in the ridges and valleys that teeter at the corners of our corpulent earth. You are an unsolved mystery, with soft shovel hands and a strange way of singing the baby to sleep. the spirits will continue to dwell and perish in the teapots while millionaires reimburse their ignorance by vacationing in the capital city. So I would disguise my spine as shrines if it gave you the chance to believe. I would reshape my tongue and recolor my skin, if only to rest on the rocks by your smiling grandma, to tussle the hair of your children, to shiver with you in the winter with arms and neck bare. I would rewrite the strokes in your name so it could mean redeemed instead of the crippled one on a Sunday night. I would push you into the river, and it may be deep, but I will explain the art of surfacing. I would let you kneel and chant, and then read you bedtime stories until you had the curiosity to ask questions. I feel the pulse of every government official and every prison guard as they take their second bowl of porridge and discuss the padlocking of gates, pick murder from between their teeth. They have a son at home. They have a plump wife. They secretly wonder what the opposite of the seat is. We bow to your sweat until one day we can declare you worthy of being a human being. The fourth and final poem that I'll read to you tonight, or today, is called Passport, and it goes like this. Coincidentally, the sea and the moon reflect each other's gazes. Can the azure moon breathe like that? Can the 30-foot waves illuminate like that? I was never fond of biology classes, an exhibition of blood and organs and systems that didn't seem to do their job. The ward is full of obstetricians on crutches. In every attempt I make to analyze the discourse of telephone calls, the lines get cut off. I hear one end of the conversation. Hello? Hello, are you there? And a black hole of absence. Somewhere in the world, at this very moment, someone is drinking beer. And then a final, exasperated, I'll try again. Bye. There. Something is lost in the spirals. The paperboy lives on Desperation Boulevard. He carries the world in his bicycle basket and deposits it bit by bit. Picks up one-eyed ragdolls in abandoned cemeteries so he has something to place by his bare bedside. Fool, fool, we mutter. We read dictionaries and expect to find success before family. In late evenings, I curate a museum. It is full of rusted photo frames, hand-me-down wedding gowns, and empty milk cartons by the gallon. I pity the expat, kicking around crystal bowls like footballs. One day he will build a house of gold and watch it fade like a sunken rainbow. One day he will have a child, and that child will trace the constellations from behind the hard bars of his crib. One day the cousin on the island will pick up his phone, and the line will get cut off, while the shadow of his grandmother roasting the pig outdoors flits carefully, because she is rushing to return indoors. Coincidentally, the grandmother and her dead brother used to reflect each other's gazes. I've hiked terrains for months to bridge two hometowns with footsteps. Sometimes I wonder if the only purpose of C-sections is to cut someone off more quickly from what they depended on so heavily. Now the highway is crowded with cars, and sparse the people in them. They hold compasses to locate their destination. That's all they carry with them. Compasses, urns, anorexic conversations. I wonder about the end of the road. Nobody will meet me halfway. Nobody knows anything because they are commuting to the head office. Again, I messed up a lot of times. I'm sorry. But at least I hope it was relaxing to listen to. And if you're a person who likes poems, maybe there was something in there for you. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like. And if you didn't, make sure you dislike. I will see you guys, hopefully very soon. Bye bye. Now that we have so many voice actors, 100, which is more than Skyrim had, we can afford to be a lot more strict.